Robert Zemeckis is the cinematic genius behind some of Hollywood's greatest films, and the driving force behind early 2000s nightmare fuel. His latest film, The Witches, just came out in theaters. Sort of, it came out in October, on HBO Max. When discussing Zemeckis' approach to VFX, everyone brings up his terrifying adventures within the Uncanny Valley, but seldom will we hear about the effects work that's even more prevalent in his films, invisible effects, which makes sense because they're invisible. Zemeckis' films are a masterclass on invisible effects. His most famous films are packed with incredible effects work that mostly go unnoticed. Turns out Lieutenant Dan actually had legs, and Forrest never met JFK. Did we just travel through a mirror? Where's the camera? These effects embellish the shots and support the emotional tone of the film without pulling us out, which is exactly what good effects should be doing. He often makes use of long shots. Super long shots. It makes these invisible effects so much more impressive though, as it's much harder to hide bad effects work in a slow 2000 frame camera pan. It also demonstrates how deliberate Zemeckis is with his cuts in editing, making sure that cuts are only made at meaningful moments to not distract the audience from the story by overusing the technology available to him. But, and this is a big but, Zemeckis gets a little too excited about emerging filmmaking technologies. He pounces at the opportunity to incorporate it into his films, which can be distracting for the audience, and often ends up looking disastrous.
Brace for impact.
Zemeckis tends to base the VFX of his movies in reality, and for the most part tends to avoid overly stylized and unrealistic effects. His CG characters, save for a few exceptions, are almost entirely motion captured, and so they lack the animated stretch and squash qualities that you might be familiar with from Disney Pixar films. While this does wonders to ensure that his effects are grounded and feel authentic in many of his films, it unfortunately sometimes backfires with his more ambitious projects and evokes strong feelings of discomfort from deep within the depths of the Uncanny Valley. His excitement for CG technology has led to some pretty great achievements though. We hear a ton about virtual production these days. It's the new Hollywood buzzword, and while we hear a lot about its use on shows like Avatar, The Lion King, and The Mandalorian pushing boundaries of these technologies, the use of the technology by Zemeckis and his computer weenies often goes unnoticed. On The Walk, for instance, Zemeckis made use of simulcam technology, allowing him to visualize the CG environment through a second camera monitor in real time as he directed Joseph Gordon-Levitt's performance. On Allied, Zemeckis made use of LED screens not unlike The Mandalorian and Gravity in order to capture accurate reflections on the actors and foreground set elements. And I mean, Polar Express is basically Tom Hanks talking to himself in a mocap suit in front of a blue screen for 2 hours. Impressive, even if those beady little eyes kept all the children up at night. So at best, the VFX in a Zemeckis film enhances the often profound stories without being distracting. They go unnoticed, but do wonders to create beautiful shots that evoke strong emotions in the audience. At worst, they force us to confront the unpleasant feelings provoked by seeing uncanny digital representations of ourselves. There's a lot of creative effects work that goes on behind the scenes in Zemeckis films, and if you're interested in VFX, I'd encourage you to dig through some of the behind the scenes content of his films, as a lot of it is very impressive. So please like and subscribe, but more importantly, give us detailed recounts of your Polar Express fueled nightmares in the comments below.